Workers' health and hygiene. Workers can be a source of pathogens, and this could be transferred through clothing, hair, skin, digestive and respiratory tract. If you sneeze, if you cough, if you're sick, you could actually introduce microorganisms into the produce. So this can occur to the produce through handling with equipment, in packaging, during harvesting. You could have contamination occurring with any one of these practices here. Again, training and documentation, very important. Workers should be educated about the microbial hazards and how they can be transferred from workers to produce. You need to train workers so they understand how pathogens can be introduced. So they have the understanding where they're doing their work, they will know how to carry out their practices in a safe manner. Workers should be trained in proper health and hygiene practices. Very important. When you come to work, you work in the field, yes, your clothes get dirty, but you come to work the next day, you can't be wearing the same clothes you wore yesterday. You need to change proper hygiene because your clothes holding whatever you pick up in the field, and then you're just introducing it across the farm. So proper hygiene practices, very critical. Workers should be trained in proper hand washing techniques and the times when they need to wash their hands. Very important. You don't want to be touching all kinds of things. You might be working with chemicals, pesticide here, and then go and touch produce. Because you might say, well, I didn't apply pesticide, but you don't know what was spilled on that container when you touch that container. So if you go and touch your produce now, you actually induce a contamination risk. So you have to ensure you have to wash your hands and be critical of that. All training programs should be documented. Once you train your workers, you keep records of that, document that, because that documentation helps you to keep track of what those workers are doing. And also it can help you if you have to do an assessment or if your farm has to be audited, because in good agriculture practices, all these records, if you want to become GAP certified, they need to have all this information. When they do audits, they will look at and see what records you're keeping and how you're going about training your workers and that kind of stuff. What kind of documentation? All this comes back to play. Practicing good hygiene. As I said before, workers should wash hands before beginning or returning to work. If the hands are dirty, after any activities or before, other than handling produce. So as I was mentioning, my example, if you're handling chemicals and then you have to go and deal with produce, you have to ensure you wash your hands. You don't want to introduce a contamination risk to that. Sick workers are supposed to be reassigned to other duties to avoid direct or indirect contact with produce. Now, indirect contact, you have to be very careful with this one too, because you might have a worker who's sick, probably have the cold, coughing, sneezing, that kind of thing. And then you reassign them, listen, you just start the harvest containers to go out in the field for the fellas to hand out, to pick the fruits and everything. But because he's handling the containers, he actually introducing contamination risk there. So what you want to do is assign him to a task where he has nothing to do with those containers or anything like that. Even if he's sitting down in the office doing paperwork and writing up stuff, so be it. But you don't want to introduce no contamination risk either directly or indirectly. Open wounds and cuts should be covered fully to prevent contamination. You don't want to be working in the field, you have a cut, and you're touching anything coming from that, you're touching the produce, even if you sweat, and you sweat dropping off from your past your cut, all that's introducing contamination risks to your produce. Workers should have a first aid kit. Now, that is very important. We go out in the field, we do work, but do we actually study what happens if we had an accident in the field or something, or we get cut? Do we have first aid kits in the field to actually, for workers to access, for ourselves to access? Sanitary facilities and wash stations should be provided for workers. If you're in the field, you should have access to bathroom facilities or wash stations. Now, some sense is not practical because depending where the field location is, you might not always have access to that bathroom facilities. You might not have access to wash stations, but it's something that we need to work on to actually improving our farming practices. And we could also consider things such as moving with a portable system. Hook onto the tractor, we go to the field, pull it out there, leave it there, workers use it to wash their hands, but yet still have the facilities. Critical thing, reinforcement training. Yes, we train our workers. Yes, we do training programs, but we need to reinforce those training programs to keep you on top of your game, keep you up to edge with speed of what is going on. If it's something new in terms of handling practices or what we do, we need to train our workers to keep them up to par. Monitor and document workers' hygiene and sanitation practices on the farm. So you train your workers, you monitor to see if that training was effective in getting over the points and they're understanding what they need to do. From that monitoring and documentation, you might need to say, listen, I need to do further training again, or I need to retrain my workers again to enforce this. Signage, very important. Signage placed in strategic places within the compound will reinforce hygienic practices. You know? So like example, wash your hands every time you come back to deal with produce to ensure that workers keep that in mind. So everything you see in it, it sticks mentally in the back of your mind, hey, I need to wash my hands, I just went to do this, come back here. So we need to enforce these training programs with true signage.